Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, June 23rd, 2025. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes is 7:01 p.m. A warm welcome and greetings is extended to councillors, staff, delegations, and observers who will participate in tonight's meeting, regardless of whether you are physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize a long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those who are viewing this meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. Thank you. At this time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. I do have regrets tonight from Councillor Sarah Blazek. Let's move to item 5 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. Members of council have full lives with engagement in the community. Sometimes they may find themselves with a potential financial or pecuniary interest in an item at the council table. Provincial legislation mandates councillors to declare this interest and, in so doing, avoid direct involvement in the consideration or voting on the item. I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest to verbally advise the chair in public session. Documentation is to be provided, if not already done, pursuant to council procedures. Councillors may declare now or at any point in the meeting should such interest be recognized. Colleagues, do any of you wish to make a declaration tonight? I see Councillor Johnston's hand. Welcome, Councillor Johnston. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to declare on item 9.2.1 to give municipal drain. I'm an officer of a corporation that owns adjacent land, and also correspondingly then 17.1, the confirmatory. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Anyone else wishing to make a declaration at this point? All right, let's move forward then. As chair of this meeting, I will manage the flow of proceedings tonight and largely in accord with our agenda and the rules of procedure. Some may be participating remotely by web conference or call. Should they wish to speak, they may draw the attention of the clerk to this using the the conferencing technologies, I'll get it right yet, text chat function. If technical difficulties arise for remote participants, I will advise and do what we can to send help. Let us now focus on the people's business. Part of that focus is achieved when those in chamber silence and put away their phones. Regarding item 6 of our agenda, I have a resolution for consideration to approve the agenda. It is as follows: that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Anstett, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Kellum. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Anstett records a manual in favor vote. And we have 9 votes accounted for. That is carried. Thank you. Let's move forward then. We are now at item 7 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they're believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant Council's recognition and or action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item or more from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 20 items on tonight's consent agenda, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections you'd like seen made to the minutes? Councillor Rothwell, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Kasenberg, members of council, staff, and public. 2 items, and they're related to each other. Items 7.10 and 7.19, both dealing with the Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act, also known as Bill 5.
Okay, anyone else wishing to make an extraction at this point before I yield the floor to Councillor Rothwell? All right, let's go to you, Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Both items 7.10 from the City of Woodstock resolution, which supports the City of Kingston's resolution expressing concerns regarding the province of Ontario passing Bill 5, also known as the Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025, as well as the Township of Pushlinch resolution to the same. I would suggest it may be appropriate if this council wants to consider giving support to both of those resolutions, expressing concern regarding the province of Ontario's initiative to bypass environmental protections that are in place, as well as their indication to move forward with special economic zones, wherein many of the existing acts and regulations would be set aside in order to streamline or speed up projects for economic development in certain areas throughout the province. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. And it should be noted that at the county there was a resolution as well that focused on the same bill, Bill 5, acknowledging that it has already received royal assent, but nevertheless, the county also has expressed some words of protest, if you will. Thank you. That is largely in order. I assume that you wish to have a resolution to the effect of delivering support to both 7.1 and 7.19, and making sure that that goes to the usual suspects, which would be the local MPP and MP as a courtesy, and to the county of Perth, certainly, if not all of the other communities in Ontario. Does that sound right to you? All right, so moved by Councillor Rothwell. Can I call for a second here? Councillor Richardson, thank you. Any discussion or debate on addressing these 2 items from the consent agenda? All right, I'm not seeing any. Clerk, are we ready for this? All right, let's have that vote. Councillor Andreessen records a manual in favor vote. And that is carried. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Okay, last chance. Any further extractions from the consent agenda before we consider the omnibus resolution here? Seeing none, I have a resolution as follows. Consent item 7.1 to 7.20 be received for information, and the minutes of the June 9th, 2025 regular council meeting be adopted. Can I call for a mover? Moved by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. Councillor Andreessen records a manual in favor vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let's move to agenda item number 8. Our agenda indicates that we'll hold 2 public meetings. The first pertaining to a matter under the Drainage Act in the Elma Ward, and the second related to a matter under the Planning Act, also in the Elma Ward. For the purpose of executing these public meetings, I use my discretion as head of council to announce a recess that will last the duration of the public meetings. This council is now in recess. All right, let's get at the drain one. Let's see where we are. This is a call to order for a public meeting to consider the report for the Doring Municipal Drain Realignment. I welcome any assessed landowners who have attended this meeting for this purpose, and the opportunity will be given to you to ask questions or make comments before this public meeting concludes. First, I'm going to call on Ben Gowing from GEI Consultants Canada, Inc. to present the report to council and to this public meeting. Mr. Gowing, welcome. The floor is yours.
Good evening, members of council and attending landowners. My name is Ben Gowing, and I'm here on behalf of GEI Consultants regarding our report on the Doring Municipal Drain Improvement. GEI Consultants Canada were appointed on October 9th, 2024 by North Perth Council to investigate a potential minor improvement in relocating a portion of the Doring Municipal Drain. The petition for drainage works was submitted by Mr. David Ebersol, owner of North Part Lot 34, Concession 15 Elma in North Perth, under Section 78.5 of the Drainage Act. To be considered a minor improvement under the Act, various requirements must be met, which are identified in Section 7 of OREG 500/21, based on the engineer's review of the project and the regulation and requirements permitting a minor improvement were met as follows. The work takes place on an individual property. All costs associated with the work will be paid by the proponent. The work does not require construction access from neighboring properties. The work will not require any changes to existing assessment schedule. The work does not change the existing drainage capacity. The work does not result in the drainage works being enclosed. The work does not take place within any wetlands. It was determined that all noted requirements were met, and therefore this project can proceed in conformance with OREG 500/21. The Doring Drain on the subject property is noted to be a deep open ditch system. The current alignment of the ditch makes it difficult for the landowner to access portions of their property, approximately 5.8 hectares or 14 acres. As noted, the landowner has applied for a minor improvement to relocate the ditch to the property line so that the field may be more readily accessible. The landowner has acknowledged that all work will be done on his property and he will be responsible for all costs incurred. An on-site inspection and topographic survey were undertaken in late 2024. It was found that the drain can be successfully relocated by excavating a new ditch along the north property line for approximately 250 meters. The new ditch will connect to the existing municipal drain at right angle corners with riprap erosion protection. All spoil excavated will be used to fill in the existing ditch, which will be returned to productive farmland. Following excavation, the ditch slopes will be covered with topsoil and grass seed to promote erosion resistance. All costs associated with the work, including this engineer's report, are to be assessed to the proponent, David Ebersol, of North Part Lot 34, Concession 15 Elma. We estimate the cost for this work at $71,700. The cost to fill in the existing ditch is not included in the cost estimate and is entirely the responsibility of the landowner. After the adoption of this report, the Doring Municipal Drain shall continue to be maintained by the municipality of North Perth, with the cost of all maintenance work to be assessed to all upstream roads and lands pro rata on the basis of the maintenance schedules provided in the existing drain report and subsequent bylaw. Any questions from members of council or? landowners.
Thank you, Mr. Cowing. First, let's see if anyone in the gallery wishes to speak to this matter. Anyone wanting to take an opportunity to do that? Would you like to speak to the matter? Please, if you come forward, we'll have you speak to this. If you'd introduce yourself and your address so that we have it for the record.
Good evening. I'm David Everson. I'm the property owner. And I just wondered, you sent me the assessment here, but if I understood right, I could get it done locally if I wanted to. Is that correct?
I think we would turn to either the drainage superintendent or to Mr. Gowing. Did you want to respond to this, Mr. Richardson?
Definitely, we can definitely take a sort. We wouldn't have a problem with that at all, Your Mayor Kasenberg. I just as long as they have the proper insurance, WSIB, I think we can carry on with that. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Who else with, from the public wishing to make comment on this file? All right, colleagues, do you have any questions about this matter before we wrap? Before we rip wrap? I don't know. Is that a really bad joke? Maybe. Yeah, thank you. The deputy mayor has an air drum apparently. It's good. I like it. All right. It doesn't appear that there are any questions then of council, and we've heard from the landowner who is involved. At this point, then, we see no indication of withdrawal or significant concerns that are raised, and with that, this meeting can be adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Gowing. All right, public meeting number 2. This one is a Planning Act matter. So welcome to those who are attending the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act for a proposed amendment to the list to award official plan and North Perth zoning bylaw. This is a statutory public meeting to deal with application for zoning bylaw amendment number 40 Z3-2025 by Patterson Planning Consultants, Inc. on behalf of 1000535777 Ontario, Inc. for property legally described as Concession 8, Part Lots 16 and 17, Elma Ward, in the municipality of North Perth. Correspondence, reports, and comments received regarding this application will be considered by council. Those in attendance wishing to make comment concerning this application will be given the opportunity to do so. Anyone wishing to appeal council's decision in this matter must make verbal submission during this public meeting or have made a written submission already to the council. Those wishing to receive notice of a decision regarding this application must notify the clerk via email, telephone, or by using the public meeting sign-in sheet located at the back of the council chambers on the table with the old typewriter, giving their mailing address and telephone number. At this time, I'm going to call for a summary of this application, which will be offered by Nathan Garland, a planner for the County of Perth, who most commonly, it seems, works on North Perth files. Welcome, Mr. Garland, again.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg, members of North Perth Council. I am here to present a plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment 3-2025. The owners are 10005357777 Ontario Inc., and the applicant and agent is Patterson Planning Consultant on behalf of Scott Patterson. So just for your reference, this is a location on the edge of Atwood, on the east side of Atwood. So we've previously seen this as a part of an official plan amendment, which did come to North Perth Council and also subsequently the County of Perth. So this is on the east side of town. I am going to apologize. Please ignore the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 presentation. That's a carryover. I sent through the long slide deck. My apologies on that. So I will update you verbally on that. So please ignore that. However, that is the correct plan. So that is the correct plan showing the extension of Woodview Drive. There's approximately 88 units proposed as part of this proposed plan of subdivision, with 50 singles considered, 24 semis, and 3 blocks and 14 row houses or townhouse considerations as part of that. So once again, 88 units, 50 singles, 24 semis, and 14 of the townhouse or row house complex. This is just for reference. Again, we've had this discussion before, just where we're at process-wise. So currently, we're at the very start of this. This is coming for council's consideration and the zoning bylaw amendment open house to provide comments through this. So currently, at the start of this, this would return back to North Perth Council for subsequent consideration, then County Council as well too, then final adoption at North Perth Council again. So a couple reiterations. Staff have provided comments, but we're kind of at the start of this. This is very much to introduce council to the project and plan that's in front of you. Just for a better colored or highlighted consideration, just to give you an idea of what's being proposed. So it is a mix of the singles, which is the green blocks, those green areas. The street fronting or the street townhouses, that's the purple areas. The greenhouses also might have the semi-detached dwellings within them as well too. They provide the consideration of both, so both singles and semis within that. And then also there is a stormwater management pond located at the very south end. That's where the discharge would be to the municipal drain. And subsequently an environmental buffer that wraps around the property, located both at the north and on the east side. That's adjacent to the drain and also adjacent to the natural area at the north there. Supporting studies, so the applicant has provided a number of studies in support of the application. They have provided an environmental impact study and a floodplain analysis. They've provided a hydrogeological study that looks at the groundwater resourcing on the property. Traffic impact study has been provided as well too. Archaeological study, which just looks at the historical reference in relation to the site, any kind of artifacts or considerations that might be found. Planning justification report, along with a minimum distance separation calculation assessment, that was also addressed through the official plan amendment. So this has now been brought into the settlement area for the village of Atwood. Functional servicing report and stormwater reports. That's looking at water, sewer, and then subsequently also the stormwater discharge from the site that will be created via the roads and the intensification and the modifications. And then also the municipal comprehensive review. This was the previous report done by the consultant for the county, looking at the official plan update and inclusion of the settlement boundary work. So that was also considered as part of this. Relief requested. So this is just some of the highlight. We do have a little bit of changes to this as well too, just to point out to council. There's no longer relief requested from the minimum exterior side yard to reduce it down to 4.25 meters. That was changed as part of the previous housekeeping amendment that came to council subsequently. So there's no longer that need. Just to update, there is the request for the R5 zone to move it from the exterior side yard from 6 meters down to 3 meters. So I think the report previously said 4.5, so this does just take it down to the 3 meters instead. And then also subsequently, there is a request, this is kind of a nuanced one. It's a small change in the semi-detached dwelling. So should they decide to go with a semi-detached dwelling on those residential R4 lots, which provide for the singles or the semis, they're just looking for an individual lot consideration. So when it's divided up, it'll become 2 lots. So the 2 lots would be allowed to be 272 square meters as opposed to the 278 square meters. So just when they divide that, that would meet the zoning bylaw, and they'd be allowed to do that through part law control. So that provides that option for a part law control. Comments have been provided by BM Ross and provided to the applicant on the technical studies and the engineering design. These included comments on the traffic impact study, functional servicing, stormwater point, grading, and sanitary. Hydro 1, MTO, and Blue Water Recycling all provided no concern comments on the application. And then the MVCA did provide floodplain study comments as respect to a future condition on the application as well too. Just last past week, we did receive both verbal comments through the clerk as well as verbal comments to myself. Just the adjacent landowner expressed some concerns with the agricultural lands adjacent to this. So this would be northeast of the proposed plan of subdivision, so east of the municipal drain. The ditch just separation, and then liability with trespass. Additional comments would be also provided through this public meeting process. So there may be some additional comments coming forward tonight as well too. Just a couple pictures of the site. So this is looking, I'll say, on the end of the site currently where the driveway extension is. This is looking towards the south with a future extension of Woodview Drive. Would connect up with the existing Woodview Drive. And then there's looking towards the north on the current lands that are being farmed. I think they've had them planted really well. And then there's the barn and the agricultural operation. You'll see that in the distant background. There is an existing shed or outbuilding on the property currently as well too. So it is currently our recommendation that North Perth Council confirm that a statutory public meeting was held and received comments for consideration. I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garland, as always. Let me just make sure you did sort of mention that comments had been received, but any other comments that we haven't heard yet at this point to our clerk? Nothing that you're seeing or hearing? All right. Did we have information about the notice of public meeting provided in that report?
Yes, through you, Mayor Kasenberg, notice of the public meeting was circulated to neighboring landowners on June 2nd.
Okay, thank you. All right. So this is the opportunity for those who attended for this purpose to offer comment on this application. First, we call for those who are in favor of the application other than the applicant. If you wish to avail yourself of the opportunity to make comments, you may do so. I am seeing no one expressing that interest. Next, then, are those who are opposed to the application. Anyone attending tonight who wishes to oppose this application may now address council. If you'd come forward, as I mentioned earlier, make sure before you leave that your name and information is on the sign-in sheet. That's helpful to us. But please come forward and introduce yourself.
I'm Murray Duncan, the owner of the adjacent property to the north and east of the said development. And I just have some concerns to be brought up, I just want to be good neighbors, okay? So I've written down a few things. One, who will be responsible for the fencing on the north and east sides of the property? What height of the fence to prevent trespassing, etc., onto my property. Being this property is right now and has always been pastured with cattle and a bullet large all the time, and it does have an open pond on it. That's one of my concerns. The other one, do you want me to just read through them all that I have? Okay. Will there be, on the deeds of the property, will there be a, how do you say it, a thing written on the deed that there's going to be normal agricultural practices held on this property, that these landowners cannot come on to me for doing normal agricultural practices. The other one is the open drain. What's the legality of that open drain for me and the new subdivision? And there has been a snowmobile bridge there for quite a few years just south of my property, but my land comes up against that locked in bush up there. So there is access for people to climb my fence that's only 4 feet high. So that's another concern. Will there be postage or signage that there is agricultural activity on this property, and who will be responsible for it? And about trespassing signs also. I know signs can go up, but they can also walk away mysteriously. So those are my concerns. I'm not against the project. I'm not for the project. Like, I just want good neighbors overall. That's my concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Perhaps we can call on the planner first. Do you have any insight into the answers to these questions before we invite Mr. Patterson to speak?
Through your worship, so I've got a number of notes down here as well too. A number are subdivision conditions, so typically fencing is required directly adjacent between neighboring properties. So this would be between the North Perth property potentially and the future landowner property. That's a fairly standard condition that we do have noted in a lot of the subdivisions. We can't speak to the fencing height directly, but it's typically 5 to 6 feet. That's a fairly common reference height. Deeds and such, that's a little atypical, but we can look into something like that, or a notification clause. There's sometimes things. Also, with respect to some of the comments around the open drain and the legality of the portion of that, It would be treated like any other water course or drain in the municipality. So there's not a lot of comments, but there is that fencing that does provide that separation or that access through there. Once again, we looked at through the subdivision agreement. I will touch base on the postage and the signage. That has been something we've been working with the North Perth Agricultural Committee on, the signage for around the, I'll say direct, the adjacent subdivisions to agricultural areas. So that's been something we've been working with staff on and providing some of that signage to proponents and applicant. So that's a fairly, it's a new, but it's becoming more common to ask for that signage to be installed on the property to give those landowners notification that that is a working farm directly adjacent to their property and that they're aware of that. So that's the summary of my comments at this time.
There was one further comment made about a snowmobile bridge.
Oh yeah, through your worship, we could look into that. If it's on the property or if it's off property, we'd have to look a little bit clearer into that just to provide council a little bit of a clearer answer, as well as Mr. Duncan as well too. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition or to ask, I suppose, questions that may lead to opposition? All right, I'm not seeing anyone availing themselves of that opportunity. So at this point, I'll call on the applicant or the applicant's agent if they wish to make presentation to this public meeting. We are prepared to hear from you. Mr. Patterson, I see you approaching the podium. This is Scott Patterson with Patterson Planning Consultants. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. As noted, Scott Patterson, Patterson Planning Consultants, here tonight on behalf of the property owner. So just for general location of the property, I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but it is on the east side of Atwood. Agricultural uses to the east and north, as noted, residential uses to the south and west, and the Atwood Station, the Dalmich subdivision, is located to the north as well. You may recall OPA 233. Council addressed that in December of last year, and it subsequently went to County Council in January for approval. That amendment brought all of the lands into the Atwood settlement area, and they're now designated as serviced settlement area. The lands are currently zoned FD, FD-12, A, and NRE2, none of which allow the development that we're seeking. So that's why we're here tonight to discuss the zoning bylaw amendment, as well as the draft plan of subdivision. So as Nathan had noted, it is an 88-unit development consisting of 50 single detached dwellings, 14 semi-detached, 24 street fronting townhouses, the stormwater management block, and it would all be on full municipal services. And this is just a copy of the draft plan as submitted. And I'll get into detail about that. So this is just the copy of the draft plan of the Dalmich subdivision, which is located to the north. The blue arrow recognizes an existing block. So as part of that draft plan approval, there was a block set aside for a road connection. So the extension of Woodview Drive goes through our property and connects where that blue arrow is on the image. So there is a block set aside as part of Dalmich for a future road connection into that subdivision. And this is just the color version, as Nathan had noticed. The green represents singles and semi-detached. The purple represents the street fronting townhouses. Blue represents the stormwater management block. And the gray area on the east and north side represents an environmental buffer block. That was recommended through the environmental impact study, an assessment of the drain, etc. So there would be that block of gray lands, I'll call them, that would surround the property and separate them from the agricultural uses. And it's our proposal that those lands would be conveyed to the municipality of North Perth for long-term ownership and perpetuity. So this is just the chart that was part of Nathan's summary report. As noted, we no longer require the reduction in the exterior side yard setback for the single detached, so that's been removed. And there was the change in the exterior side yard setback for the townhouse blocks, requesting 6 down to 3 meters. And the result of this is to create a compact development that will optimize the use of the land. So just to go through the actual zoning, this is a zoning analysis of the single detached R4 zoning. Everything in red is bad, naturally. That's the stuff that we're seeking amendments with council tonight. It's a reduction in lot area, a reduction in the lot frontage and width, and a reduction in the interior side yard setbacks. I would note that Even though these numbers seem drastic, they don't apply to every single lot in the subdivision. So when I'm asking for an interior lot width of 9.1 meters, that's not for all of the lots. The vast majority of the 50 single detached lots are actually 40 feet in frontage. The zoning currently requires 45 feet, so we're going from 45 feet down to 40. There are some lots, I believe 9 of the 50, that we're proposing the 9.1 meters to allow for even reduced lots of 30-foot frontage. This is a zoning analysis for the semi-detached based on the R4 zoning requirements. Again, red is a deviation from the current zoning. Green on the right-hand side is everything that we conform with, and that's all of the lot frontage requirements for semi-detached. The request, I think, is modest, going from a requirement from 557 square meters down to 545 square meters. And then again, your zoning bylaw works in a two-stage method. So there's one set of zoning regulations that's applicable when you build a semi-detached and you leave it on one lot. And then there's a second set of regulations that as soon as you put that dividing line down the middle of the semi and it goes to two individual lots, I have another set of regulations to deal with. So that's the chart at the bottom. So what I'm doing is hedging my bets or predicting that every semi-detached is eventually going to be split. Therefore, I want to make sure that the zoning that I put in place captures that now. So there's no issues going forward through building permit when somebody actually tries to split the lots. And again, this is something similar for the townhouse blocks. So there's 3 townhouse blocks on site. One that proposes 10 units, one that proposes 8 units, and one that proposes 6 units. This is a zoning analysis for the 10-unit block. We're seeking 2 deviations from the bylaw, a reduction in the exterior side yard from 6 down to 3, and the interior side yard from 3 down to 1.5. Same regulations for the 8-unit block, mostly green, but the 2 red deviations that we're seeking are asking from council. And again, for the 6-unit block, the exact same deviations. But for the most part, we would meet all of the zoning regulations applicable to street fronting townhouses. But then, when you split a block of street fronting townhouses, we're kicked over to another set of zoning regulations, which again identifies some additional site-specific requirements that I'm seeking based on the analysis that I completed. The exterior side yard setback and interior side yard setback reductions carry forward, so that would be applicable. But there are lot area requirements when you actually create an individual block for a street fronting townhouse. So if I left them all as one block and kept the 10 units together, I would meet the vast majority of the zoning regulations except for the exterior side yard and interior side yard. As soon as I split them up, it triggers these additional requests for zoning relief. And again, just another analysis of the individual blocks that result from the townhouses. So the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement of 2024. The proposal conforms to the county official plan. As noted, it's all within the settlement boundary now. No official plan amendment is required. The proposal reflects the optimization of lands within the settlement boundary on full municipal services. And we're here tonight to receive any feedback and comments from council and the public. And with regard to the comments from the landowner, I can answer some of those if you want to go through them. The one that caught my eye particularly was the warning or what you can do to advise residents about the agricultural practices next door. It's quite common in that council can include a condition that in agreements of purchase and sale and rental agreements that we put no warning clauses in. So anyone who buys a lot, anyone that rents a unit, they will be advised through the agreement of purchase and sale or the rental agreement of the agricultural practices next door, longstanding, to be aware of those. That's quite common. I would fully agree to that condition should council recommend that. What were the other ones? Sorry, I think you wrote them down, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Yes, so again, through you, to deal with matters of trespass, I believe the subdivision agreement will speak to fencing. Typical practice is to allow the individual property owners to put up their own fence. But if there is a requirement for a chain link fence or something like that around the perimeter of the property to restrict trespass and things like that, that's something we could discuss and would be considered through the subdivision agreement. Signage, again, we're open to that. We can talk about that. There really is no public point of access to the drain, to that buffer lot. All of the individual lots will back onto it, but there's no road access to it. There's no public trail access or anything out to that area. So it really, we would have to mitigate access from the individual lot owners going through that area. And I think we could do that through the purchase and sale agreement as well. But they should know that they don't own the land directly behind them. That would be owned by the municipality, hopefully. And they have no right to go through there or do anything with that. As far as the snowmobile bridge and the crossing, to the best of my knowledge, the snowmobile trail has already been rerouted and doesn't go through that property any longer. It used to go through there as an access to get on the public trail. You could then go into town to get gas, or you could turn right and go towards Listowel. I believe the trail has been rerouted now to go out further outside of Atwood, where it then comes west and joins into the public trail system outside of this property. We didn't request that at the time, but I believe the Snowmobile Club noted that there was some activity on the property and they've taken it upon themselves to reroute that trail. So I don't think that's an issue going forward. But as far as our property, anywhere, this particular property, I don't think the snowmobile trail impacts that any further. And if I missed anything, please let me know, but I'm here to answer any questions from council.
That was the list, actually. I just want to clarify around the fencing again. I think it, the owner of the adjacent property has suggested that it would be quite neighborly if there was a fencing that was erected in a mandatory fashion along the boundary with his property, and I think the buffer's in there, right? There's the buffer just past that fencing where the property lines would end.
Yes.
So, is the proponent willing to consider that as a sort of firm clause in their application?
To be truthful, I don't know the specific requirement of what the county or the municipality asks as far as fencing. Nathan and I can discuss that further. The issue I find with fencing is that it's typically chain link fencing that a municipality requires. A lot of private lot owners keep the chain link fencing up because it doesn't block their view. If they don't have neighbors behind them, you can see through the fence. You can see what's going on. The issue we run into is that if you have a chain link fence and then a private property owner all of a sudden builds a privacy fence right beside it, then the fence was redundant. And then who looks after the chain link fence in perpetuity, and what good did it actually serve? So I'm always cautious about the cost of installing a chain link fence for that length, and then only having individual property owners put up a fence right beside it that they never see it or never use it. But that's something we can definitely explore. I don't know how we address that issue. We can't stop people from putting up a fence. But if council and the municipality wishes to see that happen, to restrict access, that's definitely something we can look at.
Okay, thank you. I noticed Mr. Garland nodding his head, so it sounds like there's a conversation that will happen in the near future on that subject matter. All right, colleagues, questions from you of the proponent, Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Scott, so with regards to the road access that goes across Arthur Street over to the Delmage subdivision, who's responsible for building that and to pay for it?
Through you, Mayor Todd, that's a great question. I actually had a conversation with a member from Delmage earlier today. The block is set aside as part of their draft plan. I believe the municipality has an easement or a right to that block to allow for servicing and access. I don't know the particulars of the subdivision agreement for that development to say if they're supposed to build that road. It is typical practice to provide road stubs into lands that are within a settlement boundary that aren't developed yet. Typically, the onus would fall to the builder of that subdivision to build the road connection, especially if it's noted on the draft plan. That's part of their responsibilities. But I don't know the specific wording of what the Dalmich subdivision agreement says. Naturally, we're responsible for everything that occurs within our subdivision. I suspect they're responsible for everything that occurs within their subdivision. But I did have that conversation with Brian from their group today, and that's something I need to follow up on just to make sure that everybody's treated equally and that we do what our responsibilities are.
Further to that, I think that was a good starting question, actually. Clearly, the plan suggests that if there is a road extension between the two subdivisions, that it's going to bisect the trail that's there.
Yes.
So, the trail, of course, sits on public land, if I'm following the storyline here. And I am curious about how we will ensure that that is done respectfully and in such a way that pedestrians who use that trail and snowmobilers in the winter, for example, are not significantly interfered with in their use and comfort on that trail. So I don't know whether this is a question that we need to sort of turn to the planner or to even the North Perth team, but if you have comments on this one, I'm certainly very interested.
Through you, Worship. I think that was a question that came up when OPA 233 was here before you. I think it came from this side of the table or the horseshoe. Um, at that time, we talked about just how many trail crossings already exist through the municipality and how those are done through proper signage, grade elevation, making sure visibility is provided, and things like that. I think that'll come through detailed engineering design and working with the municipal staff naturally. So we've submitted a functional engineering report, which looks to make sure that the site can be developed and how it would work. We definitely need to tie our grades into the Dalmich subdivision and through their plan. So as this advances, if it advances, that detailed engineering design would make sure that all of those things were addressed, I would hope.
Okay, I think it's important for the community. Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, through the mayor, and not to belabor the point about this whole crossing, I guess my question is, if this road extension is required, there was also a requirement to install a turning lane at Highway 23 before the Dolmetsch subdivision could continue to grow. I'm just wondering how that is going to affect this, knowing that we're going to put more density back there without that turning lane installed, and kind of where we're at with that.
Through your worship, a traffic impact study was done in support of this project as a standalone report. Um, it did not recommend uh, any improvements beyond the limits of our subdivision. What it did recommend was that the municipality should look at how many units can we build before that secondary access through Dolmetsch is constructed. So that's something that I need to work with staff on. It was flagged. It's an issue. I know it's an issue because Dolmetsch, from my understanding, are not currently in a position where they want to go ahead with phase 4 or phase 5 or whatever includes that. So together with staff, we need to come up with a position on, and council, how many units could potentially go in here before a secondary or emergency access is required. So that is something that will flow after this meeting, and that's something that Nathan and I and the rest of the municipality need to work on definitely to figure that out. But as of right now, there is no commitment as part of this development to require the turning lane on Monument Road that I'm aware of.
Okay, so further that me then, Nathan, do you have any idea of how many units could be constructed back there prior to that connection?
Through the mayor, the Dolmetsch goes back a little bit before my time, so I apologize that a little bit. I know it was expressed by technical staff when they did the review, and they flagged that comment to be looked at, how many units can be connected. Right now, I think there's a discussion around phasing and looping and making sure that there is the possibility of connection, but what amount of development could occur before that connection takes place? I know that's going to be looked at with Scott and myself and technical staff. So I don't know what the actual number is, and I'm going to apologize. I can look into that and bring back to council at some point.
If I might, there's certainly no timeline on the Dolmetsch development of the future phases at this point, and so relying to some degree on any passage from this subdivision at the northwest end, I guess it would be, into the Dolmetsch subdivision as a secondary road access is highly speculative, right?
Through the mayor's question, it is a challenge to have the two of them work together simultaneously at the same time. So that is something staff have expressed that concern about. What the final answer is, we would come back to you at a future date to present that, subject to technical staff and their applicability to fire access and routing and connectability, etc. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garland. Councillor Andreessen, I saw your hand up.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kaysenberg. Mr. Patterson, I have a question for you. It's regarding, and I may not be reading it well, it's a gray block, environmental protection, is that what you were referring to in terms of the buffer zone? And would that include a berm of trees? And would that be another answer to support the local farmer in terms of, a buffer zone between those lands, the subdivision lands, and the agricultural lands? Thank you.
Through your worship. Sorry, I'll answer that. Just to go back to the question I think before. To the best of my knowledge right now, there is no set number from the municipality at the county level or the town level about the number of units that can be built on a single access road. We may need to look at best practices for some other municipalities. I know the city of Kitchener has a standard, the region of Waterloo. So your director of operations may have experience in this from his past career as well. But that's something we need to look at best practices, what makes sense, your fire department, all of that needs to be looked at. So it has been flagged. I'm glad council brought it up and we're discussing it. It's something we will have to consider as part of this. Sorry, to get to this question. The area in gray on the plan is the buffer. So on the east side and the north side of the site, again, based on the EIS and the drain and the nature of the drain, what's in the drain, there's actually some fish in the drain from my understanding. So we had to provide that setback. To date, there's been no discussion about planting that and what would be required going forward. But again, open to talk about it. A row of trees, shrubs, some kind of vegetation to make sure it stays in place. I'm concerned about accessing it for maintenance and how that would go in the long term. So that's something we're going to have to discuss as well. I suspect we could get access to it through the stormwater management block because there'll be an access for that. But I think this, again, is something I need to work with the municipality about just the long-term realistic use of that land for maintenance and how it's going to function. But it's non-developable. That's the recommendations from our consultants is we can't touch it for residential use.
And secondary to that, through you, Mayor Kasenberg, so the fencing would go on the edge of the green prior to the gray? Like on the edge of the properties of those owners, that fencing would be there ahead of the environmental zone, right?
Through your worship, traditionally that would be the proper way to do it. It helps delineate the back with the residential lots. It stops encroachment, stops people putting their grass clippings and stuff out there. Like it just helps delineate their property boundary. So that'd be the logical location for it. And we can talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd. Thanks very much, Scott and Nathan, for your reports. The question I have is dealing specifically with the 50 single lots that are proposed. Is there any discussion point here in terms of whether the builders or whether the zoning is in place? I believe it is, in terms of additional dwelling units within each of those singles. And if so, could that be part of a sales pitch, I guess, in terms of this development to deal with affordability, so that there are additional dwelling units perhaps already roughed in, so that we could look at some increase, at least a gentle increase in density in these 50?
Through you, Mayor Todd, yes, by all means. My client is a strong proponent of additional residential units. I've worked with this client for 20 years. I've been involved in a lot of his projects. There is on the plan the two areas in purple. I'll say they've got those 3 green lots between them. Those lots are excessively deep, and the intent was my client said, "Well, that'd be a perfect spot for additional residential units. We need to make sure we design for that." When he talks to builders, he's not a builder; he's a land developer. When he talks to builders, that's his goal, is to try and arrange additional residential units, encourage that, push that for them to actually do that, to make the units affordable or allow people, as I think I called them mortgage helpers last time, that people could put them in and then that would help them actually buy their house and their lot.
Thank you very much. That's encouraging news, and I hope we're able to move that forward. I'm also, through Mayor Todd, am in support of the recommendation, or at least discussion points in terms of an additional clause, which is pretty well standard in terms of dealing with the notification, registered on title for adjacent agricultural activities. So I'll speak in support of that. Thank you.
And we're glad to do that, Mayor Todd. That kind of inclusion I can readily agree to tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I have, I suppose, 2 questions. One is a follow-up to Councillor Rothwell's, which pertains to ARUs. And of course, there's gentle opportunity, which is you pointed to 3 lots, but certainly there are developments recently in this county where basements were being configured with rough-ins and so forth to support directly the development of ARUs. Is that something that this developer would consider in the context of this project?
Uh, the simple answer is yes. He's open to that across any of the lots. I'm going to put on an engineering hat that I shouldn't put on. The issue that I understand with these lots is that the water table and the ability for gravity sanitary is problematic in this development. So any basement related units and things like that would have to actually use grinder pumps to have their sanitary pumped up to the ground level, and then it would go by gravity. So I don't know the ability of actually putting units in the basement. It may just be people that want to put a washroom in their basement. They're willing to accept that. But I think there's still opportunities for additional residential units on the second floor behind, in a detached garage or coach house up behind, things like that. So I don't want to overpromise. I don't know what that saying is, but I know the basements may be problematic for actually additional residential units because of the servicing issue.
Okay, and I suppose this is actually directed to the planner as well. With regards to the density, I saw the sort of projected density that was in your report. How does this compare to some of the other densities that we're seeing in the county at this point on new plans of subdivision?
Through the mayor, or the mayor's question, it's on with the density targets. I mean, it's a little bit on the, it is fully serviced, so it's more than, say, a Trowbridge situation or some of the other unserviced areas. It's definitely above that. So we're looking at about 30 units per hectare or so, 32 units per hectare. So that's right on target with kind of that low to medium density type of housing that we're seeing. Definitely not as much as like the higher density proponents. I haven't seen a lot of those come forward in other parts of the county currently, so it's on par with what we're seeing across the county, I believe.
Okay, thank you. And last question that I have, I apologize for 3. Affordability, any intentions around attainability and affordability in this project?
The loaded question. And I've been thinking since I knew this meeting was coming about how to answer that. The answer I think that we're trying to create, or my client is trying to create, is just affordability through different variations in lot size. Hence the reduction in the lot frontage from 45 feet down to 40 feet for the bulk of the units. The reduction to 9 meters for, like I said, I think 9 of the units. The introduction of the street fronting townhouses, like just providing that housing mix leads to affordability. 45 and 50-foot lots, I can't remember the last time I got approvals for something like that in a settlement area that actually is fully serviced now. So dropping to 40 feet, I was asked to actually go further than that, but we have to be realistic about who is going to buy these in Atwood and who the pretended clientele is, so to speak. So it was that balancing act, but I think what he's trying to create is affordability through variation and through choice of housing type.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else with questions before we wrap up this meeting? All right. Notice of the decision of council will be given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Council's decision is subject to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. And with that, we can adjourn this public meeting. All right, let me get my paper in the right place here. Okay, officially, I am declaring an end to our recess and reinstituting our regular council meeting. With regards to matters stemming from our public meetings, we have resolutions for each of them. The first, item 8.1, is as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth accepts the During Municipal Drain Realignment Report dated May 2025, prepared by GEI Consultants Canada Limited. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Richardson and Councillor Johnston, thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Now let's turn, if you will, to item 8.2. Resolution as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives a report dated June 23rd, 2025, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Z3-2025, submitted on behalf of 100, is it 3 zeros or 2 zeros? It's 3, 10005357777 Ontario, Inc., affecting lands described as Concession 8, Part Lots 16 and 17, Elma Ward, in the municipality of North Perth, municipally known as 306 Woodview Drive, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth acknowledges that a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act for Z3-2025 was held, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives comments from the public for consideration regarding application Z3-2025. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Anstett, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Andreessen. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Let us thank you to all who participated in the public meetings. Mr. Garland, as always, a pleasure to have you with us. Brings us to item 9 on our agenda. First, let us consider an item from the Development and Protective Services Department under item 9.1 of our agenda. In item 9.1.1, staff from Perth County, our planning authority, have brought forward an application for consent to sever by party Paul Smith, represented by Monteith Ritzma Phillips, for property in the Elma Ward. I will call on Nathan Garland, a planner with Perth County who works on North Perth files, to present a verbal report to accompany the written one. You don't get away very easily, Mr. Garland. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and members of the North Perth Council. This is my last report for the evening. I am here to present a report on a surplus farm dwelling consent request, B16 2025. The owner is Paul Smith, and the applicant is Monteith Ritzma Phillips on behalf of Ryan Bagnall. The location, as noted, is the Elma Ward. It is Part Lot 16, Concession 4, Elma Ward, Municipality of North Perth, and the municipal address is 6571 Line 60. And there's just an outline of the subject property. This is an inclusion of the report photo and site photos for the subject land. So the requested severance is located at the north end. It is approximately 0.6 hectares in size, with the retained lands 38.6 or 30 on the retained parcel. So there's just a couple pictures. One's just a Google Street View image from a couple of years ago. It's a little bit better than the ones they currently have. It's quite grown up. They've planted a number of trees on the subject land, as well as included a shed at the back. So just a Google Street View image at the bottom, and then a side profile of the property on the top. As noted, the requested lot to be severed is approximately 39.6 hectares or 97.8 acres in size. The requested lot to be retained is 0.61 hectares or 1.48 acres. It is a fairly square lot with the proposed severed lands. The request is to retain the house for the owner currently, and then there would be a condition included in there. When they sell the lands, they are selling it to a qualified buyer or farmer, who this land is then surplus to their needs. So what happens is there's another person who's buying the subject lands, it's being transferred over, and there is a condition in the consent that that transfer take place. So they can't put another house on the subject lands at a future zoning consideration. Just to have a few comments to satisfy the condition of the consent, there would be the request to rezone both the retained and severed lands. So the retained lands would be rezoned to allow for a house on an undersized agricultural lot. The proposed severed land would be rezoned to prohibit a house or dwelling to be located on that property that is meant for agricultural purposes in the future. The proposed purchasers are noted there. They do have a farm located at 7243 Side Road 12 in Moorfield, so just in the municipality of Mapleton. No concerns or comments have been expressed by any of the agencies or neighbors. I will note this slightly. Staff are recommending a rear lot line adjustment just at I'll say the rear yard of the property, just to align with the adjacent property. So I'll just note this back. The subject land extends it doesn't show up here. It extends just a little bit further south, the property directly adjacent to it. So we're just asking for that consideration from council, that lot be reduced in size just to align with the property directly adjacent to that. So the properties would align and be flush with each other all the way across. Staff are supportive of the application, subject to the lot line adjustment, and we have recommended a condition for that. And staff are recommending to North Perth Council that the support of the application to Perth County and approve consent B16 2025. I'm happy to address or answer any questions at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Garland. Colleagues, questions or first comments on this matter? I'm not seeing any. So I have a resolution for our consideration then, as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth recommends that the Perth County Land Division Committee or its designate approve consent application B16-25, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth forwards the conditions listed in the staff report dated June 23rd, 2025, affecting the property legally described as Part Lot 16, Concession 4, Elma Ward, North Perth, 6571, line 60, to Perth County Land Division Committee or its designate. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Rothwell, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate? I'm not seeing any indication of same. Let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Again, many thanks, Mr. Garland. Next up, 3 reports from the Operations Department is item 9.2. Item 9.2.1, Council is asked to proceed with a petition to ameliorate the Gibb Municipal Drain through the appointment of an engineer. Spreet Associates, which is a vendor of record for drainage engineering, has been suggested to us to investigate, establish a watershed, and prepare an engineer's report. I will call on Scott Richardson, who is our drainage superintendent, to explain the circumstances of this drain. Mr. Richardson, as always, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg and Council. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider, like you said, Section 4 under the Drainage Act for the Mary Jane Gibb Award. The Mary Jane Gibb Award is a private system that's not identified under the Drainage Act currently. The municipality has no responsibility to conduct maintenance on the drain. Currently, the drain is a 1,200-meter open channel. It runs the length of Lot 30, Concession 2 and 3. The outlet for the Mary Jane Award is the Coleman Municipal Drain. The petition was submitted by Willem Bacher Enterprises, owner of Lot 30, Concession 2, on May the 26th. It is for the construction of a new tile system and enclose the existing channel. The drain would then be brought in under the Drainage Act and would be eligible for a 1/3 grant. The new drain would be known as the Gibb Municipal Drain. There will be a new road crossing. It will be installed under line 84, and the cost for that road crossing will be part of the engineer's preliminary design to be presented at a future meeting. Questions?
That is the story. Okay. Colleagues, questions or first comments? I'm not seeing any, so I have a resolution for consideration as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, in accordance with Section 4 of the Drainage Act, proceeds with a petition for the Gibb Municipal Drain, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth appoints Spreet Associates to investigate, establish a watershed, and prepare an engineer's report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellum, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. If you will invite Councillor Johnston to return to the room, and of course the minutes should reflect that he left the room for the consideration of that matter. Item 9.2.2 represents staff response to a resolution by this council for a report related to the possible introduction of commemoration of North Perth veterans on local streets that bear the names of these veterans. We'll call on Matt Ropp, who is our manager of operations, to present, and certainly there are 3 staff-generated options for action that he can cover. Mr. Ropp, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Kiesenberg and members of council. Staff have prepared a report at the request of Councillor Rothwell concerning the incorporation of a poppy graphic on street name signs that honor fallen veterans. For your information, our current municipal addressing bylaw mandates that over 50% of new street names and developments are selected from our historic street name inventory. Currently, 24 streets in our communities bear the names of these esteemed individuals. Staff are recommending option 3 as it presents a balanced and fiscally responsible path. This option proposes the amendment of the municipal addressing bylaw to incorporate a poppy graphic on all new street name signs and to replace existing signs during our next regular replacement cycle. This implementation strategy considers the current condition and life cycle of our street name signs, thereby avoiding the immediate financial implications while ensuring that the enduring remembrance of our veterans is honored. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ropp. I have one immediately that I'm dying to know. What is the average life length of a street sign?
Typically, all sign manufacturers typically give about a 10-year warranty on their signs. So anything more than 10 years is a good life average for a sign. So, but typically we see some around 15 years average.
Okay, thank you. News to me. Colleagues, any other questions, first comments?
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and through you. Thanks very much, Mr. Ropp and your staff for the report. I believe that the efforts that you have undertaken here have shown us a very appropriate option, certainly one that I'm supportive is option 3. That any new signs would bear the poppy and any replacement signs in the future would do that. And again, the idea of this is it's going to raise awareness within our community about street name signs that have been named, those streets have been named in honor of a fallen veteran. So I think this is very appropriate, and I appreciate the work and effort from our staff on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Anyone else with comments? Okay, I have a resolution then for us to that effect, that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth receives the Street Name Sign Poppy Initiative report for information, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to implement option 3 of the Street Name Sign Poppy Initiative report by proposing an amendment to the Municipal Addressing Bylaw 25-2023 at a future council date and replacing applicable street name signs with versions featuring a poppy graphic during the next replacement cycle. Moved by Councillor Rothwell, seconded by Councillor Nordum. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you on that one, Mr. Ropp. Much appreciated. And let's next look at the special event temporary item. For item 9.2.3, Council has the opportunity to address proactively what could become significant parking challenges associated with the summer's inaugural Hayloft Music Festival, which is taking place in the environs of the Steve Kerr Arena and associated municipal lands in the first weekend of August. Mr. Ropp is still with us, and he's going to speak to this one, and hopefully we help you alleviate your headache in working with you on this one. Mr. Ropp.
See what we can do. Good evening again, Council. As we prepare for the upcoming Hayloft Music Festival on August 2nd, 2025, staff have been reviewing temporary parking restrictions to support both traffic management and public safety. Festival organizers have arranged on-site and off-site parking. However, given the expected influx of attendees, there's likely to be increased street parking around the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex. To maintain smooth traffic flow, deter improper parking, and ensure emergency vehicles have unimpeded access, we're proposing implementing temporary parking restrictions on several key roads. These roads include Road 165, Louise Avenue North, Albert Avenue North, Reed Crescent, Edgar Street West, Bidding Street West, and John Street West. These restrictions will span from August 1st to August 5th, 2025, and will align with our traffic and parking bylaw for enforcement. Additionally, the staff report also included a measure for council to consider about delegating a future authority to the manager of operations to identify, manage special events requiring temporary parking prohibitions and limitations. You may recall In previous council, council gave the authority to the manager of operations for Benning Street only, directly adjacent to the Steve Kerr. So this would be for all municipal streets, but just for short-term special events. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rupp. Makes some sense. Colleagues, questions or first comments? I'm not seeing any, so let's consider the resolution. This is a slightly longer one. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to install temporary parking restrictions on roads identified in this report from August 1st, 2025 to August 5th, 2025 to be enforced in accordance with Traffic and Parking Bylaw 47-PW-2000. That one's getting old. And that North Perth Public Works, North Perth Fire Department, OPP, and Perth County EMS be notified of these temporary parking restrictions. And that the Council of Municipality of North Perth delegates authority to the manager of operations to identify special events requiring temporary parking prohibitions and limitations, determine the specific areas and duration of such restrictions, implement necessary measures, and notify North Perth Public Works, North Perth Fire Department, OPP, and Perth County EMS of such temporary prohibitions and limitations, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth rescinds Resolution 107.04.24 dated April 8th, 2024, and that delegates authority to the manager of operations to temporarily control parking in Binning Street West between Road 165 and the Westfield School Access Road. That was a big one. Moved by Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Nordum. Any discussion or debate? Mr. Rothwell.
Thanks very much, Mayor Todd, and thanks very much, Matt, for the report. Certainly in support of the specific matter for the Hayloft concert and so on. But in particular, going forward, the streamlining of delegation of authority to you as manager of operations, I think, is going to speed up our whole process for any events in the future. I know we've been up against the deadlines for some as of late, so hopefully this is going to be convenient within our municipality so that we can get these road closures done sooner rather than later, waiting for a council meeting, for example. So we're certainly in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with considerations here? All right, I think it's duly moved and seconded. We can have that vote. And that is carried. Look at that, we're removing red tape. That's exciting. All right, let's consider two items then from the Environmental Services Department under item 9.3 of our agenda. Item 9.3.1, Council is presented with revisions to our extreme heat policy, which will prompt a coherent policy and associated practices and conditions to deal with both extreme heat and extreme cold. You can see that Mr. Hackett, our Manager of Environmental Services, is going to update this matter. Mr. Hackett, as always, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg and Council. So North Perth, as you know, currently does have an extreme heat policy. It was passed by Council in August of 2021. And so what we're hoping to do with this is also add extreme cold to the policy. I think I'll just go right to the policy and talk about what the thresholds are. So there is a small change to what the extreme heat threshold by Environment Canada has for our area. And it was 32 degrees, it's now 31 degrees for 2 consecutive days, or if the humidex is above 40 or above, and that nighttime temperatures are not expected to go below 20 degrees. So the part that we're adding then mainly tonight is the extreme cold, and that would be set by Environment Canada, where they would have cold warnings where the air temperature, the wind chill is expected to reach minus 30 degrees for at least 2 hours. So looking at what the actions are, I've just sort of added in a couple. We would welcome the public to use the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex or the Alma Logan Recreation Complex or the Alma Memorial Community Center for warming or cooling centers if the need arises during regular business hours. And then we'd also be able to extend those hours if needed, as that kind of came up during the last time we had a extreme cold last year. We'd also welcome the public to use the North Perth Public Libraries as warming and cooling centers, again during regular business hours. During the heat warnings that we're in right now, we would offer swim opportunities at the Listowel Pool and the Atwood Lions Pool for cool down purposes, depending on previously scheduled swim times. We also would offer the use of the Listowel splash pad during regular business hours, and also provide scheduled times for use of the ice pad for public skating when feasible. That hasn't come up. There's no ice at any of our arenas right now, and typically there's not until sometime later in August. So that would be something that could come up, but it hasn't in the past. And that's basically, I could take any questions about that if you would like.
Thank you, Mr. Hackett. Thank you for the work. Councillor Andreessen.
Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Thank you, Mr. Hackett, for your report. I actually heard an advertisement already about offering swimming here in our North Perth pool for people who, need to beat the heat, so to speak. I just wondered, and I saw it in the report, how we can also offer access to our library system. And when I checked the hours, I think most days we're open from 10 to 8, I believe. So in future communications, can we also include the libraries as being cooling and warming centers because it's in the policy already? If that could be included, thanks.
Yep, through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. Yeah, the libraries do all have different hours. So, and I did write them down, and they are a bit confusing. I think that's maybe why they didn't put it in the communication, but we could definitely add it in on an individual daily basis. Because, like, for example, the Atwood Library was open from 12 to 5 today, but the Moncton Library isn't open until Tuesday. So if we put in specific hours, we could do that for sure.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions or first comments? All right, I have a resolution. Let me just find it here in the book. Here we go. As follows, the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the proposed amendments to the extreme heat policy, including renaming the policy 05-2025 Extreme Heat Cold Policy. I need a mover. Deputy Mayor Kellum, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is unanimously carried. Mr. Hackett staying with us to bring forward a report on the inaugural treasure hunt weekend, which occurred the weekend after Victoria Day. And Mr. Hackett will address this matter, including a suggestion to make this a permanent feature in the community. It sounds like it was pretty successful, all things considered. The weather was horrible that weekend. Mr. Hackett, you're up.
Thank you again. Yes, we were directed by council to bring a report back on our first treasure hunt weekend, which was, as you said, May 24th and 25th. It was a very cool and wet start to the weekend. Engagement was promising, I believe, for a first time event. I know I went around personally and drove around to have a look and see how much stuff was out. And there were quite a few different types of items. All of the comments, I did receive a few, but they were all positive in nature and supportive of the event. We had no issues reported regarding items being left out past the designated time. I took a drive around on two different mornings just to have a look around myself to see if there were things left out, and didn't really see anything. So as you mentioned, based on the positive outcomes, we're proposing that we hold this on an annual basis on that weekend following the long weekend in May.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that the community was both supportive and compliant. That's good news. Colleagues, questions, first comments on this matter before we consider the resolution? Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks, Mayor Todd, and I want to thank council and staff moving forward with this initiative. It did take a lot of work and effort, I know, from staff to post on social media and make signage and so on available, but as you've noted in the report, Mark, it was a success, and we look forward to it continuing in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Andreessen. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Kasenberg. My question is just regarding the participation of rural agricultural properties participating. would there be anything stopping or preventing rural residents from doing the same, putting some items out at at the roadside, so to speak?
Through you, Mayor Kiesenberg, no, I don't think there'd be anything to prevent people from all across North Perth participating. That's what we were hoping to have, and maybe we could remind rural properties as well that they'd be welcome to join in.
Okay, I think it might be appreciative to offer that kind of reminder for rural residents to do that too, because sometimes they think, oh, it's just a town thing, but everybody has something to share, and perhaps they could participate. Thank you.
And if I may build on the idea, perhaps just to support this, we should think about creating a map of some sort using our mapping technology so that people could register if they're in the rural parts of the community ahead of time. And we can put divots on the map so people can find them. Just a thought. All right, I'm very good at creating more work. Ask CAOs now. All right, we have a resolution then for consideration as follows. The Council of the Municipality of North Perth directs staff to coordinate a treasure hunt weekend to be held annually in North Perth the weekend following the Victoria Day long weekend. Moved by Councillor Richardson, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Anstead. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. For item 10, does any member of council wish leave to ask for a report, from staff or of a committee? All right, let's move to item 11. We have a few items of correspondence here that we need to dispatch, consider as follows. Item 11.1, we have a request to close a road to support the longstanding annual rally in Listowel of the Comancheros Car Club. And the resolution is as follows: that the Council of Municipality of North Perth approves a request from the Comancheros Car Club to close Royal Street from Elwood Smith Lane to Elizabeth Street East from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, July 6th, 2025 for their annual car show, and that North Perth Public Works, Fire, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised of the event. Can I call for a mover on this one? Councillor Duncan, thank you. Councillor Rothwell, I always look forward to seeing these cars. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. I think I hinted there might be more than one, but there's one under item 11. All right, let's turn to consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. Tonight we have two bylaws for consideration. The enabling resolution outlines for each bylaw their number and purpose. Before I go there, does anyone wish to extract one of these for a more fulsome consideration or an individual or recorded vote? I'm not seeing expression of interest in that, so let's consider the omnibus resolution as follows. That the following bylaw is hereby passed, 64-2025, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 6-ZB-1999 as amended, and that bylaw 65-2025 be read a first and second time and be provisionally adopted. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Nordum. Any discussion or debate on these bylaws? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. Let's move forward to item 13.1. Does any councillor wish leave to give notice of motion for our next meeting? Not seeing expression of that. That brings us to item 14 on our agenda. For item 14, are there any announcements that would be a benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? Anyone? Councillor Andreessen.
Thank you through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. I just want to announce that our family had a great celebration with our son's wedding. Our son Kyle married his wife Ashley on the weekend at our family farm, and we had guests from Western Canada and Michigan and the United Kingdom. And a good time was held by all, and it was a nice celebration for us as a family. Thank you.
Congratulations to Kyle and Ashley, and best wishes to the family as well. Thank you. Anyone else? I think Councillor Nordum has some big news. He texted me, so I was excited to
Yeah.
get it. You know?
Through you, Mayor Kiesenberg. North Perth welcomed a new resident on June 14th. Karina and I welcomed a baby daughter. So, mom and baby are doing fantastic.
And her name?
Her name is Esme Nordum.
How wonderful. Very excited to have this new resident with us, and we're excited that you get the experience of parenting, that's for sure. All right, any other announcements that we wish made at this hour? Okay, thank you. Let's move to item 15 then. We have new matters to consider in a closed meeting of council, and therefore we can skip past item 16 because there's nothing to report about a meeting that wasn't held. Council has amended good practice, and there goes Councillor Johnston. Let the minutes record that. Acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. I will now read the enabling resolution for this bylaw, number 66-2025. This is the resolution for our consideration. Bylaw 66-2025 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth is hereby passed. Can I call for mover? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kellum, and seconded by Councillor Anstett. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Let's bring Councillor Johnston in for the grand finale. Colleagues, for our bylaws that touch on provincial priorities considered and passed at tonight's meeting, I am in support and will not register any intention towards a veto. This information will be provided to the clerk as part of my required duties as mayor and circulated in the community. Councillors, we have completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that has come before us tonight. It is thus appropriate for us to consider adjournment as follows. The council meeting adjourns at 8:33 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Nordum. It's not debatable. Let's have that vote. And that is carried, colleagues. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, July 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in this chamber. Until our next meeting, this